but you guys who've been here a few times know the rules. I think that empty chairs are very sad. So I'm always going to encourage you to come and fill the empty chairs at the front. Sometimes that means I will actually say your name, Grant, and get you to come sit in an empty chair near the front. Excellent. Grant's my man this morning. So welcome to Lift the Rock. How many of you guys have joined us for Lift the Rock before? Okay, excellent. We have a few, which is what we like. So for those of you who are new, something maybe won't keep it fixed. It's working? Okay, so try the other one. Now it's working. Whatever, I don't need it. Okay, so Lift the Rock is a weekly program that we do here at the Venture Center. The whole idea behind the program is that we make connections between the existing business community and the startup community. And so we want to grow everybody. The whole thing with this is that if we make connections with each other, we're going to be able to help grow each individual business and each individual startup company by creating traction. So we're really focusing on companies that have traction and what we can do to help them grow. So as we get started today, I want to say thank you to the Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce for all that they do for the Venture Center as a whole and for this program, and then also to our friends at Janny King. Janny King is an excellent janitorial service, locally owned, and they come in and clean this space for us every week. So for those of you who don't know, we have an accelerator happening right now with 10 teams from all over the globe. Now, that's awesome. But what that means is we are making a lot of mess and a lot of trash that we don't have when we're not as full on the rest of the time. So we are really grateful for Janny King and what they're doing for us during the course of the accelerator. We also want to give a shout out to Hyperleap. Hyperleap is the generous provider of our 1 gig internet. If you have not experienced the awesome screaming fast speed of our internet, I encourage you to do so. You can sign on. The Venture Center guest is the network, and the password is Real Ventures. Just know that when you sign up, it's a bit like signing on to hotel Wi-Fi. There's a splash page where you have to agree to some things, and then you have access. Members, however, can get right on. So that's one of the many benefits of being a Venture Center member. So, Lift the Rock. Check us out on social. Be sure that you share the love. I've got the social up there for LumoXChange. That's our presenter today. So I'm going to give you a second to look at those things. Be sure you follow us on social media channels. And while I'm doing that, I want you to start thinking. I mentioned a minute ago the connections. Those of you who have been here before know that we're going to specifically ask who you know that we could introduce to our presenter today. So LumoXChange has a really cool platform that they're rolling out across the country, and I guess actually across the globe. And Mav is going to tell you some more about that in just a minute. But what he needs are connections to banks. I'm talking the COO, the real decision makers, people who are in the compliance departments. Mav is going to explain to you why he needs to meet some of those people, but I bet that you guys have connections at banks or at financial services institutions, credit unions, and might be able to help facilitate some introductions. So while Mav is presenting, I want you to give that, a little room in the back of your head and start thinking it over. So we're about to kick it off with Mav, but before he comes up here, I want to say, how many of you guys have ever given a presentation? Okay, so what's it like when you give a presentation and there's no energy in the room, right? It's sad, it hurts, it makes your presentation a little lackluster. So because we want everybody to do awesome at Lift the Rock, we're going to lift our energy. So I want you on your feet and we're going to welcome Mav to the stage. So come on.
Morning, everyone. How's everybody doing this morning? Good, good. My name is Mav Stanko. I'm the co-founder and CEO of LumoXChange. We're disrupting the $600 billion money transfer industry by creating the world's first localized money transfer marketplace. It's going to disrupt the industry in a way that nobody has ever done in the world today. Just by show of hands, before I start, how many of you guys actually send money abroad before? Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my story of how I send money home. I have my son in Gambia right now, visiting his grandparents, partly because I'm here doing this accelerator. And if my wife and I wanted to send him $200, and that's all we had in a bank account, we would have to go with a company like Western Union. And so if I went to Western Union online and I said, hey, I want to send $200 to him, they'll charge me $42 to send him $200. That's a lot of money, right? It might not seem like much here in the US, but in Gambia, that's a lot of money, right? It could actually pay for somebody for a whole month's worth of childcare, right? So the impact is significant. And you would think for $42, it'll get there quickly. Well, it takes the Western Union 4 days to get $200 to Gambia. I can pretty much fly to Gambia, come back, and the money will get there in about the same time. So it's really not efficient, right? When you think about the amount of money that's being sent, families across the world who are sending money home on a monthly basis, for it to take 4 days is really a long time. So I'm not alone in this story, right? There are 247 million people across the world who live in a country where they didn't grow up. So they have family ties that are not in the same country where they live. And so we're a generous bunch, right? We send $610 billion back home to support family. And these are small dollar amounts, so $200, $500 here and there. And 40% of it goes to an unbanked recipient. That means in most cases, in places like West Africa, even in Asia, people are more likely to have a mobile phone than a bank account. So using the banking system can become very challenging in some instances. So what is the problem with money transfers today? There are limited choices available for people to send money home. It's the industry that's dominated by 3 global firms, Western Union, MoneyGram, and Wire Financial. And so when you're thinking about sending money, you really don't have a lot of options to send money home. The second problem is there isn't an easy way for you to compare the fees and the exchange rates they're charging, right? It's not a transparent industry, so they want to make sure that they're making as much money off of you with limited information. And so when you think about the pricing strategies that are not transparent, it results in people having excessive fees that they're paying, right? So in my situation, I get charged $42 to send $200, which is a lot of money. So what do we do with LumoXChange? We're going to do it quicker. Instead of taking 4 days, it'll take as little as 1 business day to do it. And with the help of FIS, we're going to work towards real-time payment. We'll provide more choices because we're going to partner with local finance institutions in the country people want to send money. So we're opening up the market and creating a marketplace where you can actually shop for the best exchange rate, look at the different options you have, and really make an informed decision when you're sending the funds back home. And we're going to be able to do it for up to 50% of the cost. And I'm going to show you why we can do that in the next couple of slides. So the way it works is a user will tell us how much they want to send to Gambia in this example. We'll show them a list of our local partners. They can see the different companies, the financial institutions. They'll pick the right exchange rate, the best exchange rate that they want to use, or they can see the reviews that they have online for that service provider. And then they can pay right on our platform and dictate whether the funds will be picked up with cash, deposited into a bank account, in a mobile wallet, all in 3 easy steps. So we're giving them the choices, we're making it convenient for them to send money, and we're going to do it faster. So let's take that same example where I wanted to send $200 back to Gambia, right? So Western Union will charge me $20 as the service fee. That's, for the privilege of using Western Union. And then they'll charge $22 in exchange rate margin. And what that means is that how much US dollars are you getting in local currency? So they put a margin on it, right? So $22 to do that. Well, with LumoXChange, we will charge $5.99, right? Because we're located online. And our local partner, this is actual live data, would only put a $12.86 margin on the US dollar you're sending home. So we're able to cut the cost up to 40%, which is significant, right? When you think about it on a monthly basis. And that's why we're going to be disrupting the industry. So why are we so competitive? Well, first of all, anytime you open a market, you're going to drive prices down, right? And our partners are located in the countries where people want to send money, so they're more in tune with the local monetary policies. Western Union is a big organization. They operate in over 200 countries. And when you think about the amount of effort it takes to get the exchange rates right on a daily basis, it's really not as efficient as our situation where our local partners are located in the country where you want to send money, so they can understand the monetary policies that are going to move on a daily basis, which means better exchange rates for customers. And we employ an online business model. We have no forex risk. We're not trading currency. We're simply providing a marketplace where people can send money efficiently. So our target market is, like I said, $600 billion, a lot of money that's sent globally to people across the world. Our initial target market will be remittances leaving from the U.S. Across the world, which is $133 billion that leaves the U.S. That's our target when we start launching in this year. So why do we want to change the money transfer industry in a different way? Why do we want to take a marketplace approach to sending money? Well, if you think about the digital age today, consumers really crave data. They want to make the best informed decision when they're sending money. And when you look at different industries like travel, you used to call your travel agent, right, and make a hotel booking or get a ticket. Now you can actually compare all those services and you get to decide what service you want to use. Same thing with loans, insurance, and that's what we're going to do with remittances to democratize the process and disrupt it in a marketplace fashion. So when you look at the competitive landscape, there has been innovation in the marketplace, but the innovation has all been, hey, how do we move people from paying cash to transfer funds and moving it online? Well, we're going to be the only platform that's able to offer both. We were able to provide more choices so they can search and compare exchange rates, and we're going to be able to provide more payout options to be able to pick up the funds at a lower cost. And so our platform is all about one marketplace, local partners, and multiple payouts. So we're agnostic with the way people want to pick up the funds. So they can pick it up with local currency, they can pick it up at a local bank account, or it can be deposited in a mobile wallet. And what that means is when I talked about the 40% of people who don't have bank accounts, they most likely have a mobile phone. So there are services available where you can actually deposit funds on a mobile wallet. And a prepaid card is also another option. So travelers who are traveling abroad can actually get the prepaid card loaded with local currency. And so really we provided the most flexibility on a single platform. So our customer profile, there are 42 million immigrants here in the U.S. who are like myself. On average, send $1,400 a year, and that's an average number, about $200 for each transfer. So we're talking about small dollar amounts, and you're getting charged $40 in some cases to send that, which is quite significant. And so our marketing strategy, we have a lot of data available to us today. We target states with high foreign-born populations, so places like California, no surprise, Texas, and really go after the communities directly using social media and online marketing to actually target newspapers that they use or read, and then also target their community organizations on events that they have, so the yearly events that go on, so the Philippine celebrations, for instance. We can go when they have our table and then show them about how they can save money when they're sending money home. And lastly is referral incentives. How do you get people to get on our platform for the first time? So sending money means you would trust LumoXChange to actually take your funds and send it over, and we'll provide that first fees transfer so that we can get people on our platform. Our revenue model, we target to reach $1.3 billion remittances in year 5, and that's only 1% market share, right? Our average revenue will be $6 per transfer, and we expect to make about $36 million in the first 5 years, which is quite conservative when you think about the size of the market of remittances. Our product roadmap will be launching end of July. We'll be targeting our local partner network in Africa and Philippines. And then from there in 2017, it's really about expanding those partnerships into Latin America and Asia. We'll target the $1 trillion travel market, so people travel across the world. How do we provide those same services with them? So when they go to a website like Expedia, where they're comparing, we can market directly to those same websites so they can actually now shop for the best exchange rate. So it's an easy transition there. And then the biggest pie is the B2B payments, right? So $21 trillion in B2B payments. So when you build a banking network of local partners, then you layer on the B2B payments, right? When the globalized marketplace, when you think about people having companies across the world and paying them, that's also another revenue stream for us. And lastly, in 2018, as we talk about growth, we'll be expanding the platform to Europe. We'll be introducing a multi-currency reloadable travel card and then a bank treasury forex in 2018. Here's the team. We have a phenomenal team. We're actually customers who send money on a monthly basis, so we're actually going to disrupt this from the inside out. Baidi, who's our lead architect, has over 20 years of experience working with Motorola, Allianz, and Siemens. Marmu is our CTO and co-founder. He has a ton of experience, 30 years in the industry, built a software consulting company, and is currently head of enterprise reporting and analytics at Credit Agricole. Myself, as the CEO, have over 5 years at PepsiCo doing business strategy, have led multi-million-dollar projects at PepsiCo. So we really have a strong team, and we can show our progress in traction, right? So we have verbal agreements with 6 partners in Africa, actually signed agreements with six partners in Africa, and 2 verbals, Security Bank and DBP Bank in Philippines, which is a $9 billion market. And to the right, you would see current discussions we have. So we're targeting Philippines, Africa, and India. So we talked to BDO Bank, which is the largest bank in Philippines, and their feedback was our platform lets them provide their services to their diaspora customers, right? And that's something that Western Union can do today because they aren't able to shop and clear locally. So we're making a lot of headway when you think about the approach to money transfers and the marketplace that we're building with these local financial institutions. That's all I wanted to share with you today, and hopefully you'll join us in transforming the industry and creating the world's first localized money transfer marketplace. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really fascinating.
Thank you.
So, do you guys have questions? I know you do. Okay, well, while you're thinking of questions, I just have to point out something that I just saw on the board that I think is really awesome. So, you have a company called Flutterwave, right? And Flutterwave was one of the logos that was on Mof's board. And did you guys know each other ahead of time?
No.
No. So how cool is that we now have two companies that are here as part of the VC FinTech Accelerator that are now becoming partners of each other, and they didn't know each other before. I just think that's really fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so questions. I know somebody has a question. Walter, if you can, yes. Let's make sure it's on.
One, two, So you showed a mobile app. I'm wondering what you've had to invest in that mobile app as far as man time and development. Can you tell us a little bit about the mobile app that drives your application?
So right now we actually don't have a mobile app. We have wireframe diagrams, but we spent probably close to $30,000 on our web responsive app. And the reason why we did that is people send money maybe once a month. It's not a high-use app that we have. So the first strategy is to create a web responsive website, and then we'll develop an app once we get going. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Hey, nice job.
Thanks.
So what happens when you go to market and Western Union, MoneyGram, and others lower the price? How do you plan to compete with those guys?
Yes, so that's a good question that I get all the time. So we control the fees that we charge, right, which we're currently lower. The piece where Western Union can't really compete as well is the fact that they can't modify the exchange rate as aggressively, right, because there is a lag in the amount of information they get. So our local partners are actually going to be competing on one platform. So that's our biggest competitive edge, is the most of the money that's made by Western Union is not necessarily in the fees, it's actually in the exchange rate margin. So in some markets, they say, we're not going to charge you any fee, but then the exchange rate margin is where they make that money. So we're actually opening up and removing Western Union out of the equation and saying, instead of Western Union buying your US dollars and selling it to these financial institutions locally, why don't we just take them out and have the financial institutions compete for your US dollars? And that's where I think we have the secret sauce.
So while our next question is making her way up here, I'm going to encourage you to, if you have a question, you can make a line if you like a line. If you don't, you're willing to just bounce up whenever, that's fine too. I'm just giving options.
Yeah.
Good morning. Very well done.
Thank you.
I want you to talk some more to this group about the social good that your project is accomplishing on the other end of that transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about the money that's sent, like I talked about, it's low-value items, and it's mostly going to developing countries, right? There was a report by the ODC that said Africa, for instance, paid $4 billion in taxes, and that's just the amount of fees that are being charged. So in my scenario, it was 20%, right? That's enough to take 4 million kids to primary school, right, in Africa. And so the social impact is quite significant because in most cases when it comes to remittances, it's really to help support families. So anytime you can send more funds back home, you're able to actually help pay for more school, healthcare, or anything else that those families need. And that's why we are so passionate about this, because we're actually in the same situation where we support family, and we feel like this is the best way to reduce the costs.
John Foley with the Insurance Center. Biggest question I would have is the regulatory hurdles you're having to jump because of the know your customer rules and some of the bank security issues.
So we are actually validating our customers. Any new customer that we have, we onboard, we validate their ID, we make sure that they're not using a death record, right? Somebody who died and they're trying to send money. But also we validate versus the watch lists that are across the world. So the US watch list, Europe and European Union. With regard to regulatory, right, there is a requirement to get a license in every single state, but with a bank partnership, which is what we're looking for, we're able to service all customers in the U.S. and really focus on the customer experience instead of actually spending a year and a half getting a license in every single state.
Oh,
Another
round
question?
two.
Okay, the first one was a softball. Let me give you a little something.
Yeah.
So what percent of money being transferred is coming in as cash? So if I'm going into a Walmart, going to a Western Union, going to some other establishment, and I'm taking cash, maybe it's going to Mexico to families, what's your answer to cash inbound, and then how do you handle payout?
Yeah, so for cash inbound, we initially are not going to focus on that market, right? The growth of online transactions is actually higher than cash transactions. Not to say that the amount of funds that are being transferred with cash is not significant, but the future is really for online. We do have a product roadmap where we can potentially partner with a company that allows us to actually be able to pay with online transactions offline with cash, right? But that's down the line, and there are more regulatory hurdles that you have to go through because it's harder to track the source of those cash dollars, right? Versus if you pay online with a bank account. But it isn't something that we want to discuss down the line, but initially we want to simplify our operations, focus on building out the network, and then look at that down the line.
Hello.
Hey.
From a vendor management perspective, how are you looking at managing that whole ecosystem? Just validating that the individual on the other end that's actually providing the exchange itself or the remittance itself, how are you validating those individuals?
So we have two integration options. There's an API integration with most of our bank partners prefer to use, but we also have a web portal. So for smaller banks in Africa, where you're talking about $1 million, $2 million deposits, we have a portal that they can actually access. So we would settle as soon as we get confirmation from them. So we're not going to pass the transaction ahead of time. They would have to pull the information from our servers, and then once they confirm, we'll do the settlement piece. And that's how we'll be able to actually manage our partners. And the second piece is that each partner we sign an agreement with has to be locally monitored and regulated in the country, right? So to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to AML and the risk associated with it. Yes. Yeah.
So that implies that it's only a bank that's at the other end of that transaction, or can it be a retail of some sort?
It has to be a retail that's actually regulated. So when it comes to money transfers in most countries, you have to have a license, right? So as long as you have a license and you're regulated, we will be able to partner with you. But our main focus is banks initially, and then non-financial institutions that are regulated. More questions?
Okay, so I have kind of a squishy question, but how did this idea come about? What made you personally decide you wanted to do this?
So there's a little known secret, right, that in most immigrants know that if I take my U.S. dollars and I go to my home country, I get a better exchange rate. And the idea came about 2 years ago. My little brother was getting married, and I wanted to send him some money, and I was actually traveling there a few weeks later, and I was just getting killed. And I said, you know what, I'm not actually going to do this. So I went back home, and then the idea just popped, like, why can't I open up this market to people back in the U.S., right, to be able to actually have higher exchange rate? Because every time I take my U.S. dollars, I get a way better exchange rate. And that's what we want to do, is to say it's all about trading currency, right? And having a middleman like Western Union in the middle is just going to add margin upon margin. And so we are creating a platform where, if you think about it, it's a trading platform on one end, right, because they set their exchange rates, but then the customer gets the benefit of being able to pick. And it might not be always the exchange rate that makes the determination. It might be that the company has a payout location in a town that nobody else is operating in, or the customer service sucks. And so they can see all that on our platform to be able to do it with more information.
Anybody else have another question? Wow, silence. Okay, well,
thank you.
I'm going to take that as my cue. You get to hang out with me for just a second, Ilmoff. So you remember back at the beginning I said I wanted you to think about who you might know that you could introduce to MOF. Now, I'm not asking you for their contact information. I just want a commitment from you that you would personally, via email or phone or whatever floats your boat, help make an introduction from your contact to my contact here. So Ashley is going to come around with cards. You have two options. You can either fill out this card, or you can bust out a business card and write your stuff on the back, whichever one works best for you. So if you need a card from Ashley, put your hand in the air and she will come around to you. I feel like you're still thinking. So, okay. Well, so Mom, thank you so much. We're really excited about what you're doing.
Thanks.
And here, I'll actually take the clicky thing from you. Okay, so I need some help from my Venture Center people, because you know what I need, right? So, those of you who have not been with us before may or may not know about our Lift the Mallet portion of Lift the Rock, which is where we celebrate a traction event. So this week, you got to bring it up here so it's in the camera. Sheesh. Come on now. All right, so this week, our friends at Mortgage Peer Network have something to celebrate. So, Greg, you get to come up here and ring the gong. It's going to be loud, just as a warning, because it's a gong. Okay, so Greg, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to hand you the mic. You're going to tell us what happened somewhat succinctly, and then you're going to wail on the gong. Got it? Okay.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. I'm Greg Ellis with Mortgage Peer Network, and part of the key to our success in this startup is developing partnership relations with some of the hosted loan origination providers in the industry. And as of this last week, we signed our very first partnership agreement with Lending QB. And so we're very excited about that. Hope to have the second one signed maybe as early as this week, probably next week.
Awesome. Okay. I wasn't kidding when I said it was loud. She's just going to keep going. If you too would like to get to hit the gong in celebration of traction, all you have to do is reach out to me or Ashley or really anyone on the Venture Center staff, and we will get you scheduled to do that on an upcoming Wednesday morning. In the meantime, fill out those cards, hand them back to Ashley. We're going to follow up with you regarding those connections. We'll be right back here in the same place next Wednesday morning. You can drink coffee, eat the pastries, and hang out for Co-Work Wednesday. Otherwise, that's it for Lift the Rock, and we'll see you next week.